So welcome to our final interview in our Divine Feminine in Business series. And today I am blessed to sit with my soul sister, Shona. And actually, Shona and I first connected last year for the Divine Feminine in Business series. And I think throughout the interview or sometime after, we were just kind of figured out that we'd known each other for lifetimes. And we are like, oh, okay.
Pretty much.
That's intense. And so I'm really excited to connect with Shona today because of so many reasons. Shona will tell you a little bit about how she shows up in the world in a second here. But from my perspective, I'll share what I feel from Shona. So Shona is a womb empress, a womb whisperer, a really powerful priestess of Isis. There's so many things I could say about you, but the main thing that for me comes through when I connect with your work and how you show up in the world through your work, through the sacred technology of business. You're so deeply energized and embodied in your womb that you have this ability to just create so much energy within and around you and have people want to know what you're doing and want to connect with you deeper. But Shona's a mama to a beautiful little baby boy, and she's not always doesn't have time to do all the things. So it's just really that ability that you have to be in your womb and to hold sacred, powerful space. And it, turns out you don't need to be always, hustling and doing these things in order to have people want to connect with you, want to work with you. So it's super inspiring to me. It's something I'm always working on. So Shona, why don't you tell us a little bit about your work, how you show up in the world, and what womb illumination and the Rose Lineage School is all about. Rose Mystery. There's mystery school. You tell us.
I will. First of all, sister, thanks for having me back, second round, and I want to just really give props to this amazing space that you're holding as well, because I really feel how many women you're helping just to step into where they need to be to hold space for themselves, to be in business for themselves. And I feel like this is a great topic because we're spiritual based businesses and we don't want to work for anyone else anymore. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for holding this space because it's definitely very helpful to so many women. I know that all of us go through this. So thanks for having me again. And yeah, sister, it's definitely full power. I feel it's interesting. There's this interesting dynamic right now. I did my first interview back. I had about 3.5 month break from doing any interviews and dropping in with any other realms of consciousness outside of mine. And it's interesting because it's this is a powerful journey to be a maiden to mother and have the business woven in like that. And I know many women who are listening probably have the same thing happening, that they're more inspired to do that business from home now they have a baby, and they're more inspired just from having that huge initiation of being a mother and stepping into their queendom. So I really feel that it's definitely a connection with the womb space that we allow ourselves to not only be rebirthed and renewed and to birth through that portal, but to allow ourselves to go through that journey as well, which then takes everything along with it that we're holding and everything that we want to let go of. So everything, it's a portal, it's a vortex that we literally can allow ourselves to be transformed through. And the way I like to see it is a really powerful vortex plus an energy field. We literally have these toroidal fields in our body. But for a woman, our still point is our birthplace. It's the immaculate conception. It's the still point. And I always tell my students and different sisters who I'm supporting with body work, which is the main place that I come from right now, is healing modalities, is womb healing, is that we literally have thousands of nadis around our belly button. And these thousands of nadis, they're spoken about in so many different lineages, is that's one of the most important places for energy. So in the Tao, in anything to do with tantric realms, it's always a few fingers, 4 fingers below the belly button or either side of the belly button. We have this very powerful vortex. And they say, the womb, the gut, the stomach, the womb, the hada is the second brain. And there's actually twice as many neuroreceptors in the gut than the brain. So gut's such a funny word, but we don't always respond with womb, because we connect womb to having a baby. But what I want to move into today is connecting your womb with how you manifest and create in the world. And that's really what I've devoted my life to is learning how that looks for myself and learning how that looks for other women. And that can mean anything. You know, you want to manifest a relationship, you want to manifest a connection to the rose lineage, whatever you want to manifest. People come to me for all sorts of things, but it always is the same piece. It's always the connection to that vortex, and, you know, also our heart vortex and our yoni. So I have currently been deeply initiating into the Rose Lineage Mystery School myself. So I've been asked by my guides to hold space for a mystery school that has been gestating for, you know, a really long time now. This is my 9th year holding space for womb healing, and then 12 years for tantric healing. So I started really young, obviously. I definitely had some hardcore initiations at the beginning, being that I had no choice but to connect with those vortexes in my body. There was literally, you know, when I was younger, I lost my virginity quite young. So therefore, it actually took me into this vortex of the power / the destruction of what can happen when you have your sexuality like. So that was a really young initiation that then led me to Tantra. And then when I was in my early 20s, I had my first abortion, which is something that many of us go through without a lot of support. And then this anchored me deeply into, wow, like the womb consciousness is something that we're missing. This portal isn't just for babies. This portal is for creation. And there is so much that's in there that we need to look at and be present with and hold space for, to be able to really use it in this world, to be able to move energy through it and manifestations through it. And everything really comes back to that point of, how can we connect into that space? How can we move through the cycles of life, the death, the rebirth? You know, how can we die each day and feel okay with it, so to speak, or each month, specifically for women with our cycles? And this is really a lot of what my passion is the menstrual cycle is my main passion that I moved into this with. And now coming to the other side of it, obviously, you know, empowered mothers. But the reality really is I'm on like a whole new path right now. I'm going through my 3rd initiation, and like I said, I really do believe we have these vortexes, the yoni, the womb, the heart. I'm currently on a really big heart initiation with Mary Magdalene and going through a massive clearing here. So that's how the rose is really supporting me right now. And that's what I really feel in this world of what we're going through, is once we sync up our energy, you know, our sexuality, our creation power, and our heart, our presence, we literally can manifest anything and bring anything into our reality. And that means we can also bring something we don't want into our reality without having the conscious awareness of that. So that's also why I'm calling upon Mary Magdalene a lot more. You know, we have the feast day coming up, and she's just a really powerful reflection for women to be able to move through the knots and the karmic unwinding, which is what we will find when we go into these spaces and places that haven't been touched or held, or just had the spaciousness to be an empty presence. A lot of our yonis and our wombs and our hearts have just been energetically like penetrated, taxed, like manipulated, and that can be through words, lingams, you know, hands, whatever. It's about, when we come into business, and the way that I see it is a really deep invitation for our divine masculine, divine feminine to come into alignment and to hold space for each other, to be able to even do this dance of creation, destruction, manifestation. And that's really what it's about for me. I just married myself on my birthday, and I'm laughing because I'm just like, how long it took to marry myself. And I feel like that's the key, you know, and that's what I love with what you're doing, is you're helping us come into alignment with our internal world, because we need to be doing that dance to be able to even do that dance outside of ourselves and to hold space as well. So yeah, there's a little bit in there. There's a lot in there. There's pieces that you can understand. And some of them are infinite, so we can sit with one line forever, right?
There's so many pieces in there, and there's like a few that I want to pull out. We'll see what happens with your next amount of speech and how many more pieces I want to pull out, because it'll take a while to get them all. But I kind of want to start like take it a little bit, I don't know, out more eagle's eye for those women who are maybe a little bit more new to the path of connecting with their womb, and they're like, they hear you talk and they're like, this sounds really nice, this sounds good, But maybe they're like, so how does this tie into business? And you already touched on that, how these places are vortex of manifestation. So could you highlight for those that are kind of new to this path, how actually connecting with the womb, the heart, the yoni, that trinity, especially the womb, well, I shouldn't say especially the womb, but I feel like that's where you have so much like magic coming through. How does that connect with actually working with clients or being in the right kind of situations for yourself as a spiritually based entrepreneur?
Yay, thank you, sister. Yeah, I love you. I love how you simplify everything. But yeah, sister, it's quite simple. You know, when we align with the rhythms of our own body temple, and that's what I mean by the vortexes, that we will sync with the womb. When we align with the rhythm of our own womb, and we have that womb story that we're able to, be with and sit with. I call it a womb story because a lot of what we're here for on this planet, and in our dharma, in our path and purpose to hold space for business, is based upon our womb story, is what we've been through and what our womb timeline actually tells us. So the way that I look at it and feel into it and support my clients with is that we need to know when we're bleeding. Obviously, we need to know, which cycle we're in, and we're in follicular or we're in ovulation, or we need to know which one of the 4 phases we're in to be able to provide the best care for ourselves and the best care for whoever's in front of us. So I always say, and I can't say this enough, is exquisite self-care feels like the first step for any entrepreneur. Is like that exquisite self-care is so important. And if you want to sync that directly with the womb, I really feel when we're aligned with that cycle, we know where we're at. Like right now in my luteal phase, I'm going to be bleeding next week. So at this time in my phase, I begin to slow down. Like it's one of the last things I'm doing. And I begin to slow down and take that little pause for myself to essentially die, to go into the darkness, to go into the spaces and places and release it. So then when I come through the other side in the follicular phase, in the fresh phase of the cycle of the spring, I have space to even hold space for you or for someone else. And these are the things that are so simple that we really don't do a lot in this masculine based society, where we don't think about, oh yeah, like I'm a woman, I'm with the rhythms and the cycles of the moon and the womb and the waters. That's the most simple thing I could ever suggest any woman doing, is literally having a moon chart and tracking to the best of your ability using either an app or body temperature, basal, anything that helps you know where you're at. And at this time and in this way, you can even realize what's available for you to share with another woman at that time. And where I'm going into that is because the next piece around that is that when we fully surrender into the cycles and the rhythms of our own internal realm, we literally can do anything. And if you rest when you're on your moon time, even if it's just for a couple of days, have more time for yourself, that sets up your whole month ahead of you to have more energy and to be able to hold more space. There's been a lot of discussion in our realm of life, our goddess communities, our whole networks, where like a lot of women, it's such a conscious thing right now. The menstrual cycle is such a conscious path of awakening, and I really feel like sometimes it can go down different narrow doorways and different pieces where it can be quite dramatic. But the reality is, if we're taking care of ourselves, if we're aligning ourselves with our cycle, if we're blocking off time for our moon time, and we're closing things down in our luteal phase, we literally will be giving ourselves what we truly need to be able to be a fully embodied woman for business, for relationship, for anything in our lives. The way that I see it is energetically. If you're new to this journey, this is going to sound really interesting, but energetically, if you tune in, I always feel that when I get to the end of my cycle, like I'm close to my moon, my bleeding time, I feel like I kind of feel like a slightly pregnant. Like I feel a little bit impregnated with the whole month's processes, with like my baby daddy's process, or maybe my son had a huge meltdown for 2 days, or maybe one of my clients quit. We literally absorb into this vortex everything, and we may not even know it. And that's why the exquisite self-care and checking the cycle, it can allow you to check in and be like, okay, so why is this on repeat? What's actually happening here? And why am I not able to go into here, into my body, and move that through? And a lot of times, if you can't bring this energy down into here, you're not taking, enough time for yourself, either being in like a practice that has zero English or words. You're not taking enough time to really just be in your body and move the energy through. And the reason we talk about the vortex is because a lot of our womb's movements is a spiral. It's vortexing and it's undulating. It's a lot of movements that allow your body to literally give birth to something. Why I keep referencing that back to the impregnation and the birth is because you don't just have to have a baby. You could literally, in the beginning of your follicular phase, after you bleed, you could literally be like, so Beth, I'm going to find my perfect business mentor and have one client by the end of the month. And by impregnating your womb, allowing it to come down from the mind and allowing it to be breathed into your body, into your heart, into your womb, into your yoni, by literally melting your words down into your body, it brings a whole visceral experience of embodiment, and it allows you to start to, live, breathe, walk, talk, be that intention. And that's how we can use the cycles, and that's how we can use practices that we have been given through the ages, like yoni steaming and belly dancing and meditation and yoga. These things bring this down into the body. And this is essentially what I've been developing for over the last 9 years, is a practice that actually brings it directly into your womb through a combination of different body techniques that you can do on yourself or someone else can do to you. And what I've come to understand is that we have these gates within our womb, and if they're blocked up with ancestral trauma or abortions or maybe your ex-lover, the spiraling doesn't spin, and therefore it's hard for you to manifest and bring it down because the vortex aren't spinning and they're not moving and they're not able to sort of shift through your body. And that's why a lot of women do come to me, is because they feel like something's not moving through. Because essentially we're supposed to always be moving through. We're multifaceted, multi-layered goddess creatrixes that do move through so many cycles if we allow ourselves to, and if we can surrender in a way that feels nourishing yet presently embodied in a way that is intricate to our own process. I feel that it's never going to look the same way it looks for me. So if I'm saying anything right now it doesn't resonate, then just move to the next piece, because it is really, really, when you get far enough into the womb journey, as love, it's your own creation. It's your own creation.
Yeah, I love that. That just feels like, it's so funny. Well, it's not funny, but in these interviews, I'm learning so much from every woman that I'm talking with, because the intention was to hold space for everybody that's, joining us to learn. But of course, in every interview, there's like so many pieces, and just really hearing that of coming, and it's, you have a lot of parallels to Aqua's interview, actually, what she was sharing, not surprisingly. Shona and Aqua are friends as well. And just, I love that it's just dissolving from the mind and letting that come to the womb, especially right when we, are finished bleeding and entering into that new spring-like cycle. That just feels so juicy, and I'm gonna start bleeding like this weekend, so I'm gonna really just like intake that and hear that. That feels so good. I also wanted to ask you, I know there's definitely a few women that have entered into menopause in this journey, and also some sisters that have had surgeries and things like this, or may not be bleeding. Can you speak a little bit about how, for those women, this might be something that can still fit into their lives?
Yay, thank you for asking that question. And just to rewind a little bit, I love Aqua. She's one of my favorite mamas. So yeah, props. It's just amazing. Everything shifts once you become a mom, and it's amazing. So yeah, I love that sister. Thank you for having her on here as well. I'm excited to watch that. But yes, menopause or hysterectomies, same thing. It's just a very different, it's a different essence and energy. And I have a lot of sisters and beloved women, and even my mom actually came to me one time for this. Actually, last time I went to Australia, which was like 4 years ago, I stayed home with my mom because she was hitting her menopause. And I didn't go to Mexico. I didn't go travel in South America. I stayed with my mom. This was a really big initiation for me because I've been so well versed in everything except menopause. And it was about, 4.5 years ago now. And it's been one of the things I've really devoted a lot of my time to, because so many women, conscious women, that generational period kind of just, it was like, whoop, it kind of just disappeared, that level of support for them. And of course, this is the juiciest phase, this is the mystic, this is like the crone, this is the woman who doesn't bleed, she holds all her power in her seat of her throne. And the fact that the old paradigm has taken that level of like mysticism from us is just disgusting to me. So definitely well versed in that. And it's also been sad to sit with as well, is that hysterectomy is the number one surgery for women in America. So it's pretty huge. And it's been a big thing that convinced us to take that energetic portal out. But they cannot take it away from us, ladies. It cannot be taken from us. And that infinite portal, it's not necessarily physical. It's still a vortex, an energetic spinning vortex that you have access to no matter what. And I encourage anyone who's on this call to really sit with that information, and even do a ceremony around that of like, of mourning or grieving that that's been taken from you in a way that you were convinced. Because I believe that's one of the main things that can be in the way of us connecting to our womb, is possibly not holding space for maybe like a little mourning process. So I've actually had a lot of amazing women come to me, and we've done little death ceremonies and mourning process and grieving, and just being present, even to hold space that might be what's the sadness in your womb, or that you may be able not to connect with it. So it's a presence. It's an internal understanding and space holding that really only comes through, really deeply allowing yourself to come from the mind through the breath. I personally love doing womb points, like I said before, and I can even share a video with your sisters if you would like. I'd love to share a video actually with your sisters afterwards, as a gift, that is just a few simple points that specifically if you are in menopause or you have had your womb taken out, this will reactivate the vortex. Because what can happen is this dead neuroreceptors in your womb, having it taken out, once those get activated again, it switches back on. The gut and the brain connect again, and they start recepting. And that, if these two connect again, it does allow more of the back down. So I would recommend yoni steaming as well. If you don't yoni steam and you're having this journey, I highly recommend yoni steaming. I actually have made a specific blend for menopause that I have not yet released, but I will be, for menopause, that stimulates the organs so that they start activating and it starts turning on again. But pretty much it's not like it's more work, it's just a different energy of work. And it's more about finding that presence and that seat in your throne again. Because if you really feel into that, like, okay, so Beth's a maiden, she's a beautiful maiden, I've come into the mother. The mystic is just like this overseeing, like over guiding woman who just literally still has a cycle. So what I've come to understand is that when I supported my mother, I actually tuned in with her and I said, when you last bled, let's look at your cycle, let's chart your last cycle. And so we began to go through all her emotions and her hormones, and I found that she still had a bleeding time, and that she still had this little pause of windows that was like literally like her moon time. And it was, a lot more delicate and inwards and tender. And so we still kept tracking her cycle, and we, based upon where she was in her cycle, we still customized her life. So I encourage women who don't bleed, who have had a hysterectomy, to still treat yourself like a multi-dimensional cycle seasoned woman, and track your cycle and just give yourself a little bit more of that space when you would have been bleeding. That's what I would highly recommend. And if that's like not even like present for you, if you don't even feel that, it's just such a numbness, yoni steaming and these points that I will share with Beth in the video will bring that back for you. Along with that comes the libido, along with that comes the creation, because we can't just like turn off from these things. I have many mystics in my life in menopause that, are like more juicy than ever. So they're doing something right. And I know it's available to all of us. And a lot of them just share, you know, similar things, like still knowing and being in touch with that. And actually, instead of being like, oh, I'm not bleeding, or I'm, you know, I'm sad because I'm not bleeding, or I don't have a wound, just sit in that eternal throne, crowned and throned, knowing that you've walked this whole life and you've bled, like you've been bleeding for so long, so many moons, that now you're just bathing in that eternal, you know, red river. And that eternal red river of wisdom and knowledge carries all of the imprints and all of the knowledge that we all have and we're energetically synced back to. So that can sound like really like woo, but the reality is that as you sit in that throne as a woman in her menopause, you carry the whole lineage that you've walked, you know, that's walked before you, and that you now have closed out in that way and in that process as maiden, mother, mystic. And you're bathing in that. It doesn't leave your body, it just recirculates your whole body. And there even are some practices in the Taoism and tantric practices that can help women do that before they even reach their menopause, because some cultures really believe that you shouldn't even be bleeding. The blood should be recycled back through your body for higher rejuvenation. I personally love bleeding, so like, no, thank you. I feel like I love bleeding so much that I'm like, no, I want to bleed for at least like a day or two. So I really believe that when we balance ourselves in our cycles enough through, you know, good nutrition, you know, eating what your body actually needs for each part of your cycle, which changes. I highly recommend looking at Modern Goddess Lifestyle. She has the best eating for your cycle ever. And then exercise, but then also slowing down towards the luteal and the menstrual cycle, and then really just honoring each phase. You will find that if you are still bleeding, you won't bleed too much. It won't be very painful, it'll be orgasmic. It will be like the best dream time of your life, just connected to all the devas in the spirit realms and the goddesses that you're connected with. And this is how we use this powerful gift as a connection point to ourselves, to our business, to what we actually want to share in the world. I just highly recommend, if you are in menopause, just still keep treating yourself like you got a cycle and hold space for it. And then if you're not, hold more space for it because you definitely need to understand that that's the root of all our power, I believe, is how we can sync with our own unique cycle that then is in complete harmony with the divine, with Mama Gaia Sophia, with our family, with our tribe, with the alliance of what we're synced into. And that's a lifelong journey. For sure.
Yeah, I love that. I love like what I'm feeling from you is this like very slow kind of anchored energy in the womb and in just your life and living with the land. And I feel like for divine feminine in business, that's one of the main points that I really want to convey, even though I really don't do it always perfectly. Like the last week has just been so go 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 because I didn't hire an assistant and that was a mistake, and next time it's happening. But yeah, learning by doing. But that energy of just being really rooted in what's real, being rooted in the land, being rooted in your womb, being rooted in, as you say, exquisite self-care, that creates this energetic container for things to come to you. And like we talked about in our opening ceremony, I talk about, you know, the black holes in the universe are essentially vacuums, and they pull everything in that comes close. And our wombs are pretty much the same, you know, just in a different, you know, form. We can see it. And I think you're such a beautiful embodiment of that, because you have so many women in your sphere. You have so many women that sign up when you offer programs and things like this, but you're not someone who's always focused on marketing or the next thing, or I don't think, you know, it's not really about that for you. Really, it's about you focalizing a temple and focalizing circles for women to come more deeply into their remembrance, which is so beautiful. So thank you for embodying a new way, because all of the women that are on in this series, I asked, you know, for a reason, because they're women I look to remember that, you know, I don't have to do it like, you know, that's more masculine marketing person that's made $1 million and is telling me XYZ. It's like, no, that's not what it's about. That's not my path. it's so nice to have, women that are embodying this and that it's working for. On that note, I would like, for me, I'm curious, and share how much you feel ripe to share, but what's your process when you have a download coming in about a circle that you're being guided to focalize, or a journey that wants to come through, or an offering, or anything like this? What's your process almost energetically? Because I know with our remembrance journey, which I highly recommend, we can talk about that at the end of the call. I know that you had done like a ritual before anything, went online. This is something I've been speaking a bit about as well. So can you talk about how, like, when you download something and then you go to create it in the world, what are some of those steps that are more energetic for you, more aligned with, your path as a priestess rather than just someone who needs to market a product?
Yeah, amazing question. Thank you for asking that. It's beautiful because I feel, funnily enough, sister, I feel as well to feel like I've wanted to do less marketing. I feel like I definitely have got trapped in a marketing loop for a while. And then I was like, you know what? This isn't my way. And this doesn't feel good. So thanks for sharing that, because you know what? It doesn't have to be like someone else. And I believe that there's people in our lives that can help us with pieces that we're not good at. So I highly recommend, like, definitely, like, delegating out things that don't feel good when you're in that place. And yes, Beth, I need to get better at that too. Thank you. And don't try and do it all. And know your qualities. And the really the core of this whole essence is that I've come to understand that that's not my forte, and what I really am good at is anchoring in visions from the fifth dimension. And I have guides that come to me and share visions with me, and I anchor them in. And what I usually do is I allow them to sit in gestation periods. So the younger version of me would want to just get them out straight away and do all these different things. And definitely I've wanted to do that many times over the years of this journey. But what I've come to understand, specifically because I have a baby too, I can't just do everything I want, is that there's these really powerful, hugely, hugely, hugely initiatory phases where different guides that have come to me. Right now it's Mary Magdalene. She's been with me like really strongly for almost a year, and well, for a very long time, but just specifically really directly with me for a year. And she always asks me to energetically sit with them in my womb, and she gives me the most information when I'm bleeding. I always get my downloads when I'm bleeding, when I turn my phone off or turn my computer off, and can't really turn my baby off, but but I use my windows wisely. And also he's a very powerful conduit with the spirit realm as well, because he's so pure and angelic. So I utilize my resources, being that I really believe our dream time is very important. And so in Hindi and in the Hinduism culture, my name Shona actually means sleeping golden. Wow. And a lot of women have said to me, oh, before I like came to this or found you or did this journey with you or started mentoring with you, came to me in my dream. And I'm like, yeah, this is a lot of my energetic work is in dream time. So I've come to understand that one of my most powerful places to bring information, from my guides and also communicate with women that need my medicine is in the dream time. And I really honor that the best of my ability. I honor the space that is the most beneficial, even if it's just like that I have 2 hours a day in the first 2 days of my cycle. I'll be like, all right, I'm going to manifest a golden, like 4-poster bed with golden curtains. And I totally did. And it's, I honor that space where that temple, it needs the honoring. And then I surrender to it like wholeheartedly, even if it's just for 2 hours. And that's really where my messages come through. I always write them down in a really, really powerful journal. I'm really connected to different specific journals. I believe that our journals are like literally these tablets. They're like these powerful, they're very powerful how you honor your journal and where you put it and what it is as well. And then like I said, I really let it gestate. I let it be in my womb for, who knows, a number of cycles. I definitely always make sure it has one gestation period, so 3 months in my womb. And most of the time, every single project will take 9 months in my womb before it wants to go into the world. So then again, we're sinking into that womb vortex, and we're surrendering to the innate knowing that whether you've had a baby or not, even if it's a download or a relationship or a business, it does want to still have that nurturing time within your body temple, within your womb, within your heart, definitely within your yoni, because that's where the Shakti builds from to be able to allow it to shift through. And that's definitely what it looks like for me. I definitely have a very like, okay, I'm going to be with this and just really be and feel into it. I do always do a lot of research in my internal realm of why that's in there. Does it want to happen for me? Do I need to go and always I need to go through it first and hold space for it and move through it. And then it just appears in my life. And so recently, I would love to share this piece. Just the last piece is that Mary Magdalene's been with me like super strong and been through a big initiation. Some of you know, some of you may not know. In my personal life, like everything that wasn't in alignment with integrity and devotion and the highest level of my authenticity has come up in my life over the last gestation period. and that's been moved through and anchored back into the reality of who I really am and who I want to be in this world and what I want to offer. So I highly recommend that you allow it to take you on its journey intimately with you, because that's what it wants. It came to you because it wants to be with you intimately. It doesn't want to just be in the world first. And so that's definitely a big piece that I would share. Yeah, it's patience. It's patience for the growth. It's patience for the surrender. It's patience for the process, and that, everything's going to be all right. And that, it's going to be all in divine alignment, even though it doesn't feel like it. And just the surrender piece for sure. So yeah, I'm giggling because like, I feel like I've been through so much, initiating for my next offering.
Fully understand. I feel like anybody who wants something gets it in our own ways for sure. It really leads back to what Caitlin, the first interview from this series, was saying, because of the bulk of her work for how she pulls people in. What I received from her was she just sits with the energy of what's coming through and what the container feels like, and really gets grounded in that. And that's something I'm, over the last couple years, I'm like slowly stepping more and more into with my offerings. Just, watching other women just hold that space and kind of just energetically receiving, like, oh, okay, like I remember, because this is how it was done as, priestesses for lifetimes, lineages. Is This is how it was done, is like, if we were calling, maybe calling a gathering in, or there was a mystery school, or there were circles that were, concentric circles gathering. It's not like we would be running around the streets, shouting like, there's a circle happening 12 p.m. tomorrow, kind of like just picturing, classic marketing, like, it's going to be really good. We're going to learn these things, like, that's not how it was. For my remembrance, really like working with Dreamtime, calling in and trusting just everything that you're really saying and everything that Kayla was saying. And just because we have modern technology and maybe some mortal amnesia and, things like this, doesn't mean that things have really changed in their essence on how we show up in the world as priestesses. And that's something I'm really learning deeply, is to trust that process and to trust the energetic work and to trust that what feels really juicy for me, which is sitting in front of my altar and just communing, is also the way to receive abundance, is also the way to be supported in the world as I go about what I want to do and what's coming through. So such like a beautiful just conversation and just remembrances coming through about that. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, and I love that too, because that's sort of the next phase for me, is once I've anchored it and it's gestated and then it's okay, it's here. I always astrologically tune into what it looks like, and I always check my chart. Like if I'm bleeding, I always check my chart. And sometimes it wants to be when I'm bleeding. Sometimes it wants to have certain aspects of that darkness, that void, to manifest and to bring energy in. I definitely feel that it's a vibrational frequency and an authentic essence of what draws women towards you. Because a woman just goes, okay, I have a remembrance, and it's in this energy field. It's not like a name or it's not a person. It's just like, I remember this energy and I am drawn to this energy. And I have like full goddess bumps as I was saying that, because the reality is that it is a remembrance that we've done this before. And I really feel that loud and clear. And with remembrance, the offering you were speaking about before, remembrance of the rose lineage that I held earlier this year, it was interesting. So many women had dreams before it started and were like, well, you're in my dream and you came to me, and some of them were explicit and like powerful and like mind-blowing. And I really feel like that's our biggest connection, is our womb grid is connected through the dream time, obviously. And our womb grid is connected through the cycles and the blood. And we sync up and we change the rhythms with energies that we need to align with, and that we are calling in, and that are here to help us in this time. And I'm so extremely like excited about my latest offering, and I would love to share if that's okay with you, because it's something that is really real for me. Because right now I've been called to so many different, at the beginning of the year I held a retreat with Leola, my beloved sister, and it's called Sisterhood of the Rose. And Magdalene came to me straight after that, like that I was integrating that retreat, and she was like, you need to do this, 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 and this. And I'm like, you asked me to do that last year. And I was confused, and now this is what's happening. And it's a council. She asked me to hold space for a council of 12 women. And on the online realm, because we can't all be in person right now, and I would love to be in person, but she asked me to hold space for 12 women for 12 weeks. And it was just, I was holding the container. It was all of us together in an equal plane. And she asked me to hold space for that, so that we could bring through these deeper lineages of the mysteries of the rose and the Mary Magdalene secrets that are alive and well. They're in the field here right now, but she wants more women to anchor it in her number is 12. And it's been really special because, I mean, Magdalene of the Rose is just like, it's all I'm living and breathing right now. And she's just in my walk so deeply right now, in my personal path. And it's funny, I keep laughing about it, because I've hurt my back and not been able to walk. I have lost my voice. Like, the things that I've been through in clearing, it's been really powerful. And Mary Magdalene shared with me that she has been clearing a vow of silence that I took a long time ago, clearing a vow of chastity that I took a long time ago. So I'm celibate right now. I'm going through this huge, beautiful initiation with her, and her guidance since January. And obviously before that, like last year. And it's really powerful because it's synced with my grandmother, very synced with my grandmother, very synced with my personal lineage of the rose. And all of our lineages, it's such a beautiful remembrance to know that we are doing this together, and that there is power within these councils and within these priestesses gathering together in a portal, in a temple, that just shifts the whole world right now. And there's so many women doing it. And there actually is a lot of Sisterhood of the Rose gatherings that are forming all around the world right now. And so many women have contacted me and asked me to be part of things. And the reality is that, like, I would love to be part of all of it, but my life is so full, and there is so much anchored wisdom and knowledge that I believe that is within my body temple that is so powerful, that needs to be shared directly from my guide and my guides and different pieces that I've embodied. So I've just decided that this Magdalene of the Rose is going to be literally like I would say a training. It's a template to take to your community to start your own gathering. Because this is going to happen with one person. It's going to happen with every single, country and like town, having the priestesses gathering and syncing us up together. And we can't do it alone. And I really feel that these temple templates are coming in, and they're being given to certain women and certain sisters around the world that have the capacity to bring it through in a way that isn't always fun or enjoyable. And it's a calling. I obviously signed up for this a long time ago, and it's taken a lot for me to be like, okay, I'm ready. And it's really, again, about that process, really checking in. If you have something come through, the gestation period allows you to like weed out all of the pieces that aren't really in alignment, and nurture the rose so she can actually bloom. And it's a patience, it's an acceptance, and it's really a deep, deep, deep level of learning boundaries, the thorns of what's going to really help us be able to fully bloom. So yeah, with that, I feel like the medicine of the rose right now is the best medicine that any woman, man, or child can receive. And I just feel like it's the divine mother coming to us in a way that has never been experienced in this lifetime. And it's something that I feel we all could use more. Is more of that rose medicine. And it's interesting too, just to end with that, my dear teacher who's has a mystery school and focuses on oils, and she's like a mystic oil maker. She said to me, be careful with the rose medicine because too much of it's pretty full on. And it's true, you know, like the medicine of the rose, it's like she's pretty badass, you know. She's not all like super amazing smells and sensual. She's also like checking your psychology in your brain. Like the rose actually brings up mental issues and clears mental issues from the whole lineages. Like the rose is a lot about like, you know, our boundaries and our fierceness, but also like removing anything in our life that isn't allowing us to be in that place or this place or wherever we are. So yeah, call on the rose diva if you're ready. If you're ready. I mean, may put Mary Magdalene and the rose together because they're, you know, they're one and the same.
Well, if you're watching this, I think it's pretty safe to say that you have called rose medicine in.
Totally. Yes, you have.
I want to highlight one piece that we talked about in our opening ceremony as a circle is, you know, to some people listening, they may be like, oh my God, Shona is so full on in a beautiful way of how deep you are on your path. And again, just simplifying it, if you're like, okay, that's so beautiful, but I'm still new to connecting with my guides or this or that. But what I'm hearing from that is what we already talked about in this journey, which is I was sharing, I don't create anything anymore that it's just an idea. It just comes, oh, that's a good idea, and that's a good idea, and that could work. That's great. I like am an idea just maven. I just have so many ideas, and some of you can probably relate. But when I act on something, it's because I'm sitting in meditation. I'm sitting with the Great Mother. There's this really deep place that I've started to connect in with in the last couple of years. Really helped by my work with Kalila, who is featured in this journey as well. And when something arises from that place, we might call it the void, you know, the place of stillness that you were talking about. I forget your exact languaging. That really resonates.
Still point of immaculate conception.
The still point of immaculate conception. That feels really aligned with what that feels like. And something comes up, then those are the ideas, the downloads that I'll pursue. And I have had quite a shift also, even in, you know, financial terms of what has happened from that decision, just because it's so much more resonant coming through my field, and it's just easier to get behind it. That's kind of what I was hearing from you is, you know, you're really connected to Mary Magdalene right now. And for other people, it might be, you know, they're connected with their heart, or they're connected with the forest that they go to, or they're connected with Archangel Michael, or maybe specific guides, or just, you know, your higher self is just amazing. And really, like, I really want to anchor in and energize and emphasize that point, because I feel like a lot of the clients that have come to me that have experienced challenges in their soul-based business and they're not really gaining momentum, a lot of the time I find that they're just looking at what other people are doing and sort of emulating it and going, well, that works for them, could that work for me? And there's this shallow energy that doesn't have that magnetism that is what draws people in to work with you, which is totally fine. I've been there. I probably still do it sometimes, for sure. This is a journey. But to really hear that point of like, it is powerful to be in your presence. It is powerful to connect with the void. It is powerful to connect to your guides. And just to have that trust and commitment to being connected to that space is going to birth things that are very powerful through you, and things that actually will change the world, that you don't have to second guess. I mean, we all second guess ourselves sometimes, but you'll feel, even if that just went up to one person, you'll feel that there was an energetic shift that happened. It's amazing.
Yeah, and one thing I keep feeling and hearing, that if it keeps coming back through you, you know, it's like you let something go, comes back to you, the kind of thing like that, you know what I mean? Like if I have something that feels like it wants to come through, and I usually let it go, and if it comes back again, I'm like, okay. If it comes back again, I'm like, okay. And I feel like that's a really powerful thing, you know, if you're consistently aligning and surrendering to what really, really, really is ripe and new, it will eventually just, when it's ready and ripe. And we can't push these things, you know. I definitely feel like, you know, you can't speed up a baby to, you know, to be ready full term. And it's like the same thing with whatever we choose to to grow and to water and to be with and to be, you know, in communion with gestation of what wants to move through us. It's the same thing, you know, and I've referenced that so much in this whole conversation, because I really feel that when we start utilizing our womb as this powerful vortex that has a clear thorn boundaries of like bullshit and like drama and like negative vibes and ancestral trauma that isn't yours, and when we have that layer on of our thorns, it has more spaciousness for our rose to actually bloom with what she really wants to give off her fragrance, what it even her unique way of opening and blooming and in her own time. And that's really what this whole conversation comes down to when we feel into it, is you have an idea or a download, like plant that seed in your womb, begin to plant that rose garden, allow it to bloom, create the boundaries of the thorns, create the space for yourself, connect in with the divine mother, water her with the nourishment of connection to the devas, connection to the earth, connection to your exquisite self-care, and protect that sacred garden and only allow the specific energies that feel in alignment to share that sacred garden with. And that's through all aspects of our life, through sexuality, through creation, through friendships, through family members if they're not conscious and they are hurting your feelings. Whatever it is, we do need to develop that fierceness and that forgiveness, but fierceness, that fierce forgiveness of creating what you want to hold for yourself. So one thing that gets super real when you have a baby, because you have this thing outside of you that you're just like, well, here is Mama Bear. And so, you know, it becomes a lot more like real for sure. Yeah. Protecting. But, you know, Women Illumination was my first baby. You know, she was my first baby, and she is taken on her own thing, and she's way beyond the terrible twos now, and she's got her own thing going on. So you know what I mean, like terrible terrific twos mamas on this call, like, yes, I hear you. But you know, they have their own journey. You know, nothing really is ever ours. Even when you have a project and you birth into the world, it is not yours. It's a vehicle, and it's a offering to the Great Mother, to the service of this whole life that we're a part of, that we have the blessing to be a part of right now in this time.
I love that. You're highlighting so many pieces. I think you've highlighted key pieces in every interview so far.
Oh, yay!
Kalila also talked
about I'm excited to watch all the interviews.
Final interview, the Weaver, because Kalila was saying that, and I like completely agree. That priestess presence, that's not her. And for me, Sisterhood of the Mermaid Moon, I really consider that a temple space, an etheric temple space, and that's woven by all of the women that come in, which is that works for me. That really resonates for me of how I conceptualize my work in the world, because it's not about me. I mean, my life is in some ways about me because I'm living it, but the work is not about me. It's a devotion. Yeah. So I want to ask one more question for you. And this, let me just feel into, I had a question and then I lost it. Let me just feel into what wants to come through. She's taking her time. Do you have anything to add?
She's being a queen.
Being a queen. Okay, so this is what I'm feeling. So a woman, she's been under the kind of idea that, you know, she needs to get to work, she needs to start her business, she needs to, which, you know, has value, but she needs to learn the things, she needs to put out the social media graphics, she needs to be on the computer, she needs to work like late nights because she is a 9 to 5 as well, and she's trying to transition out of that. And so very in her head, maybe she's very in her head, or she's in that zone. Like, what are maybe 1 or 2 steps that she can take away from this conversation that will help her to get out of her head and just really more in that juicy energy space that is also the space that's when things manifest from. That's what we've talked about.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. It's interesting. I feel like I'm deeply in this initiation right now because I'm getting ready to launch a beautiful offering, Magdalene the Rose. But first of all, I'm launching a 9-day free offering of, you know, our novena with Mary Magdalene. And you know what I would say to anyone, because I'm saying it to myself all day, every day right now, it's just make everything beautiful. And it has to start with you. So it's like, if you're not feeling you're not feeling beautiful, and by beautiful I don't mean like beautiful, I mean like beautiful. Like if you're not feeling beautiful and like in that, then take a break, put your feet on the earth, put some rose oil on your forehead and on your heart and on your womb and behind your womb and on the back of your ankles. Like remember why you're actually even doing this, because it wasn't for the reasons that you're probably stuck in your head for. It's not those reasons. And when we can't align with the soul essence of why we're doing this, there's no point in why we're doing it. Because that's like, I mean, I know if you're still in a 9-to-5 beloved sister and you're like, oh, well, I'm still in a 9-to-5 and da-da-da, it's like, so am I, love. I have a baby. And that's not a bad thing. I love my son, but trust me, there's been times where I've been like spiraling out of like the essence of why I am here and why I'm doing this. And I feel like, stop, make it feel like, make it beautiful. Make it even a beautiful mess. If you have to make a mess, make a mess. Make it a beautiful, fabulous, sensational journey that doesn't require you to really spin out. It requires you to move it through your body, whether that's dancing or stomping or screaming. I personally love having a bath or getting in water. I literally feel like I've written most of my best work, my best channelings come through me sitting in my bath on my phone writing. I feel like whatever it is, you have to know, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a sister in business like this, you have to know it really makes you feel good. And what I would suggest is the elements. You know, the elements are something that can really just anything, whether it's fire, if you're a fire sister, maybe like, I mean, right now I'm really into smoking rose and like pink lotus and blue lotus and different herbs. I find that by smoking rose and smoking different herbs, which I never was into before, I don't really smoke at all, ever. I've noticed that the smoke, that element's helping me move through something, and then it might switch to, you know, the air, and I might want to run around and like just be crazy outside, or use my condor feather to shift the dynamic of the air. Like you don't have to play around with it, but it's good to have some. I like to have 5 key things, one that matches with each of the elements that just snaps me out of it and can bring me back to the essence. And so, like I shared before, if it's not feeling beautiful and fabulous and alignment and juicy, then stop and know that it'll take less time once you're in that place, because everything takes so much more time if you're not feeling juicy.
Yes. Oh my God. I really want to echo that. Like last night I like sat down at my computer to make, you know, a page that's coming out on Friday for you all. And I was just like, I was so exhausted that everything that was coming out of me was just like a waste of my time.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what I did, but I forgot I did something and I got back in the flow, and then I created this thing that was so fun to create, and I was like so stoked on it. So, and usually I will just give it up for the evening, but I don't have time right now. I needed to have it done. So even just like, you know, a quick break that's just gonna, you know, get you back. And also if it's really not flowing still and you still feel like you need to get it done, you probably actually don't. That was something I was open to last night. I was like, maybe I'm just, you know, I set 4 or 5 hours to work on this thing and it wasn't flowing. And I was like, maybe I'm just not going to do this tonight and totally take the night off. Which I was okay with. But then it kind of came through, which was awesome. So
yeah, be gentle too, you know, be gentle and delegate, like if you can have a team, and if not, just don't have a deadline that's like dire.
Yeah, exactly. It's all self-imposed deadlines anyway, you know, when you're an entrepreneur. So just,
yeah.
You know,
Thank God us doesn't have a deadline.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I needed to remember and just like bring in. And I'm going to have this big process when I've created what I need to create for Friday, just like I'm going to start bleeding because I kind of timed it like that. And I'm coming back in because like even I, you know, shared this in a couple interviews, just feeling like spiraling out with all the things that need to get done. And one thing that I really learned from this is like, you need to get help, which I've already talked about, so I can stay in that flow space. Because that's the whole point, right? You know, divine feminine in business, what we're talking about. So,
yeah, it's like we're not perfect. Just to keep it real, like we're not perfect, which is something you need to know is you're never gonna be perfect. Blessed. And your imperfections are your perfections, and that be gentle. You know, I've spent so many years being so hard on myself, and now like as I'm leading up to what I'm about to launch, I'm just like, oh yeah, like, okay. Like, I'm just allowing everything to change and shape form, and like, and you know, it's not even up to us, you know, our guides. And again, the essence of whatever was seeded, that essence is intrinsically pure and cannot be like shifted or changed no matter how much you stress out. So don't do it. It's not worth it. You'll just like spiral out. And exquisite self-care is your foundation to success, and to staying in the flow is like just your juicy, palpable magic is what people are attracted to.
Yes. I love that. I'm gonna go after this. I'm just gonna go jump in the ocean and just. I still have some meetings and things later, but just jump in the ocean, be in the sun. You know, even if have about an hour to do that, but I'm gonna take that hour. Do I have more work to do? Yes, but that can wait till later because I need, it can be simple. We can bring it in and receive. And for me, again, just nature really resets that. So I feel like let's talk about maybe just ways that we can go deeper with you. I know that we did not touch about this at all, but is there any more spots for the Peru experience?
I have to tune in with Aurora, with the other sister who's doing it. So that, not right now. I'm not the forefront of that person, so I'll tune in with her.
I'm just kind of excited about it. I think I just wanted to bring up Peru, but there is other ways to work with you.
Totally. Yeah, Peru is magical. But yeah, definitely. Right now, I'm about to, on the new moon, I'm gonna be doing a 9-day free novena. So there's just an offering. Novena is Latin for novem, which is 9. So it's an offering, it's a devotional offering to Mary Magdalene for 9 days. And consecutive days will be in prayer. And then after that, that's when the Mary Magdalene Magdalene of the Rose launches on the Mary Magdalene feast day. So there's like double hits of Mary Magdalene everywhere right now with me. There's a free journey for 9 days, and then there's a 12-week offering that it's literally going to be an initiation into the Rose Lineage Mysteries. And we'll be meeting a council call every Sunday, which is really powerful. We're going to be having this really distinctive, like, grounded Temple of the Rose so that we can really hold space for each other. I'm really excited because it's been something that's been really in my womb for a long time, and just like everything that I'm the most excited about, I'll be sharing all, different healing modalities, and we're literally going to be moving through the 5 senses and then the 7 sins through the 12 weeks. So anchoring into bodily magic of the senses, and then diving into the 7 sins that we have been kind of like the patriarchy has like put into the demons and the sins realms of them all being bad. But the reality is it's just ways of looking at it and moving through them. So it's a full spectrum journey. I'm super excited about it. It's been just like magical to be creating. I'm like, it feels so juicy to create. So that's why I know it's good. Yeah. And I'm just excited. There's already, I haven't even launched it yet. And there's like 3 spaces already gone. So it feels good. It feels good. Yeah. But and then Remembrance of the Rose Lineage, which is a 28-day journey. We're probably going to be launching that again in a couple of months. I'm just waiting for a beloved sister of mine to support me with a few pieces of that, just some editing. But we're going to be launching that again, which is a 28-day journey of the menstrual cycle, and moving through all the phases so that you have more of an understanding of how to even take care of those phases. So those are the main ways. I also do one-on-one womb mentoring, which is really powerful because it's just you and I, obviously. And it's 2 sessions a month, and we usually move through gestation periods of 3, 6, and 9 months. I only have a few spaces left for those right now, but they're probably going to be taken by the Magdalene of the Rose women soon. So those are the ways, or the Rose Boutique if you just need some beautiful magical products to help with your journey.
Yeah, I've got my yoni eggs both my yoni eggs are from Shona, and I'm getting another one soon.
You're getting many more things soon. I'm just waiting for the rest of it to arrive.
And I would really echo, really highly recommend Remembrance. That's a 28-day online, I would say initiation. I'm not sure how you.
Definitely initiation.
Yeah. And I was a part of that for the first round, and it's really powerful. Shona holds really powerful space, and just especially if you're listening and you're like, wow, I really need to connect more deeply with my womb, apparently, from this call. It's I don't think it's going to come up for next couple months, you're saying, but when that's ready, I would highly suggest jumping in and being a part of it.
Thank
And
you,
there's like
Vivi.
pieces. I want to revisit because Shona has some beautiful womb massage videos in there, and like literally shows you how to activate those vortex points that she was talking about. I'm inspired to like
I would love to send one of those videos to you for your sister.
yay, that would be amazing because those are so juicy and really highlight like a tangible practice to put to this.
It's simple too, you know, it's really simple because a lot of times, like you said, we're all like, but really it's super simple.
It is super simple. Really, it's like you have oil on your womb and you're giving her love, but then there's a little bit of those like those points that you're talking about that you guide us towards. And we'll just, do that along with you and feels so good. So thank you for re-anchoring me back into all of this magic. And yeah, I just have so much to sit with over the next couple of weeks. This has been for everybody that's in this world knows that launching something, birthing something into the world is like a huge initiation within and of itself. And so excited for the next part because I think the next part I'm really going to be calling my energy back and being like, okay, more exquisite self-care, please.
Have the best moon time in the world.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so thanks so much for joining us. And our next piece, our final piece, will be the closing ceremony with the sacred masculine. So excited for that. And thank you so much, Shona, for your magic. And you can find all the links that we're mentioning to connect with Shona. You'll have it on this page or wherever you're seeing this. We'll make that available to you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you, everyone.